What is up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Reigns, and we are back again with another episode of the IDP Army podcast, where, of course, we are talking mostly IDP, all fantasy football. Welcome in, IDP Army. Let's get to it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, y'all, you already know what it is. We're continuing with the 32-team preview. Yes, it is a big endeavor, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Today, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the agenda. This is a team that you're going to hear a lot about. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is it was a bad team for a while and it has a lot of up-and-coming players on, especially for fantasy football. I mean, we've got a lot of young studs, highly touted guys, offensively especially. T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase. All those guys have so much upside, so much push in the fantasy community. You're going to hear a lot of analysis on them. You're probably going to have shares of them and have an opinion on them on your team, and I'm going to share mine with you all. Then you have Tyler Boyd, probably the best value on this team from a fantasy perspective. So there's a lot of fantasy players on this team that people are going to have. So their 2020 record, after getting the number one overall pick, Joe Burrow, the greatest quarterback ever, 4-11-1. All right. We all know Joe Burrow got hurt late in the season, tore his ACL and I believe his MCL both. But everything that came out of OTAs and minicamp said that he's basically full go right now. Like, he is right where he should be, maybe even a little ahead, and he's looking like he's going to start week 1 for the Bengals. So, and they say he looks like the same guy. So that's awesome. If you have a fantasy and a dynasty, when he went down, we had some scary stuff this last year between him and Dak. I know that gets you shook in fantasy, but if he's coming back, that's awesome. And if he looks good, there's a lot of meat on the bone here for this team. We saw a lot of good things last year from this team. Coaching situation, we'll have to see what Zach Taylor can do. This is coming on year 4, I believe. He has, they did pass on Sewell. They took Jamar Chase. So they're going to have to put some wins on for old Zach Taylor to keep this job. So that'll be interesting to watch as far as storylines. So, they added Jamar Chase, number 1 wide receiver taken in this draft. I believe that was a number 5 overall, 4 or 5 overall. They added Trey Hendrickson, pass rusher, who you guys have heard me talk about on this channel. Go check out some of the sleeper videos. But we'll talk about him later as well. But you know who Trey Hendrickson is. I'm bullish on him. Pass rusher from the New Orleans Saints. They added him, gave him big money, and now he is there. They needed pass rush help. They had Larry Ogunjobi. Apparently, he's going to be playing more 3 technique, which is good. What we want. They kind of moved him away from that the last couple of years with the Bengals, or not the Bengals, the Browns. So this line is better. The offense is better, defensive line, and they did add guys on the offensive line. Maybe not the ones that the draft analyst and the talking heads wanted, but they addressed their offensive line, and they still got better a lot of other places. Other notable additions, they added Joseph Asai and then Mike Hilton, cornerback from the Steelers. So they got a little cornerback help. They got some pass rush help. I mean, these are premium positions in the NFL. They got an alpha wide receiver to go with, who already looks like an alpha wide receiver, in T. Higgins. So let's jump right into it. Joe Burrow right now, ADP on Underdog is 60, QB9, going at 95 overall. That's a little rich for me. That's still a top 10 quarterback. I don't really know. We want, usually in that top 10, you want rushing upside, and a guy coming off this devastating of an injury, I don't even know that optimistically I would be projecting Joe Burrow to have any sort of rushing upside this season. So to get into that top 10, he's gonna have to throw a lot, but we've seen him be successful doing that. Fantasy Pros consensus rank right now is quarterback 13. That's probably a little bit closer to what I would want to take, Joe Burrow as a high-end quarterback 2. In your 2 quarterback leagues for this season. In Dynasty, he's still that guy that you're going to want. 65% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns as a rookie, 5 interceptions, not super duper great. But again, it was his first year. He was a rookie. We did have the COVID situation, which affected some guys differently than others. His offensive line wasn't doing him a whole lot of favors. But this year. I don't know where I have him ranked exactly. I will tell you this: I don't have him on any of my dynasty teams because he was just so hard to really go and acquire his rookie season. You had to basically have the 101 overall. And the way I play Dynasty, I'm trying not to I never tank. So to have the number one overall pick is going to be very, 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 very rare for me / never happen. So I don't know what it's like to actually have Joe Burrow and experience him. We'll have to see what my redraft teams look like, but may end up with some Joe Burrow. Let's talk about these wide receivers. Okay. So like we said, they drafted Jamar Chase. Is he the number one wide receiver on this team immediately, or is it going to be T. Higgins? T. Higgins, we saw have a lot of success last year as a rookie, 908 yards. I don't think people really, when they think of T. Higgins, they don't think it was that close to 1,000. Only started 14 games. He also had 5 rushes in there. So that, they were getting a little creative with how they were using T. Higgins. 6 touchdowns, so that's almost half of the touchdowns that Joe Burrow threw, although I don't know exactly how many of those he caught after Burrow was gone, so you have to check on that. But I think that we could see a situation where we have 2 guys here. Obviously, they're going to be very fantasy relevant. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a situation where T. Higgins ends up getting more red zone looks and maybe ends up getting schemed up around the goal line a little bit more, and Jamar Chase gets a little bit more between the 20s work, but we'll see. I could see this being a sort of reminiscent of 2 or 3 years ago when we had Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs on the same team. It's going to be both very productive for fantasy, maybe not the exact same way, but you're going to want to have a piece of these guys. And I will say I do have T. Higgins on several teams, and I think in Dynasty right now, it's a good buy window for both of these guys because people are scared that one's going to eat into the other's upside, where the reality is they both still have plenty of upside and they're very young receivers. And, we still have a lot to see with them. So if things do break their way, it's not like they're going to be easier to get later. So that's kind of my thoughts on those two. But Jamar Chase right now, wide receiver 20 on Underdog. That's a little rich for me for a guy who's a pure rookie. Just going to be completely real with you. But Fantasy Pros rankings a little bit closer to probably what I would, consider wide receiver 34, probably a little bit more reasonable. Tyler Boyd's ADP right now on Underdog is wide receiver 36, and T. Higgins is going to split the difference on these two, and he is going to be wide receiver 25. All Underdog ADP, we're using Underdog just because, just in a general sense, Underdog is real money on the line. They're real drafts. Yeah, the best ball draft strategy might mean people are reaching a little bit to, build certain teams like stacks or whatever. But the ADP, as far as true ADP, in my opinion, is going to be the best because it's going to be the picks are being made consciously with the intent to win, not the intent to build a team on a mock draft, but to actually win that league. So the ADP there, in my opinion, is going to be a little less biased towards fiction and a little more towards reality. So that's why I use that. Fantasy Pros ranking on these guys, like I said, Jamar Chase, wide receiver 34, Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 33, and then Fantasy Pros has T. Higgins right now leading the group with wide receiver 27. So we will have to see how that shakes out. That's actually going to be a fun situation to watch. I've tried to go get some Jamar Chase. Again, I don't really have a lot of high picks, so I didn't have him on any of my teams this year. I didn't draft him. I had the opportunity to once or twice, but did not. I have been putting feelers out there for him, though. So from what I've heard him be comped as and the kind of player that he looks like to me as a non-talent evaluator, just a person who watches football, the comps I've heard for him are ones that I actually had in my own mind, which was Antonio Brown and Devontae Adams, and even a little Stephon Diggs. These guys they're great, pure, all-around wide receivers, and there's almost no situation where you are not comfortable trying to push the ball into their hands. And with his rapport with Joe Burrow and all these things, I'm very bullish on him. So spent a little more time on the wide receivers than I anticipated doing there. But thankfully, we can talk about the tight end situation very quickly because the tight end for this team, for fantasy purposes, is absolutely and completely and unequivocally irrelevant. That is Drew Sample. He's probably not going to catch any passes. And I do want to say again, Tyler Boyd, he's going to be a value this year. He already is. Like I said, he's got such a solid floor. He's not really going to be a big touchdown scorer, but Tyler Boyd is a great receiver in the NFL, and he got a lot of targets. He's had a lot of targets the last couple of years. I believe I just saw something that PFF pushed out a couple of days ago. Since 2019, you have to vet me on this, but I believe it says since 2019, he leads the NFL in yards from the slot position. And that's with multiple quarterbacks. Okay, that's not just Andy Dalton. That's not just Joe Burrow. That's whoever was starting after Burrow went down this year. I don't even remember. And that was whoever was starting a couple of years ago whenever, Andy Dalton wasn't playing. I forget who that guy was too. So Tyler Boyd is a very safe option. Not a ceiling play, but as a receiver you can play every single week in your flex. They really don't make him any better than Tyler Boyd. So that's all for the offense, y'all. We are going to no, it's not. We're going to talk about Joe Mixon in just a second, but we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. What's up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Reigns interrupting the show quickly to tell you guys about a new sponsor of the show, Monkey Knife Fight. If you haven't checked out Monkey Knife Fight yet, you're definitely going to do that. Let me tell you what they have to offer, all right? Monkey Knife Fight is daily fantasy sports gaming website for casual sports fans that is simple and easy to use and easy to play. The users determine which superstars competing for the day's professional sporting events will record more or less than the contest provided. Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy prop games play similar to salary cap-based DFS games, but without all the algorithms, the lineups, and most importantly, the sharks. You guys got to go try this out, IDP Army, okay? Monkey Knife Fight is like our brand, like the IDP Army brand. It's disruptive, it's forward-thinking, and they are definitely where we play daily fantasy sports. You guys should too. Get started today with a 100% instant match bonus up to $50 if you use the promo code IDP Army. That's only for the first time or new depositors only, but hopefully you guys are getting in there, winning some money, having a good time, and make sure whenever you guys get in there, and if you do win a little bit of money, which is what we want you to do, take those winnings, go sign up with the Patreon.com. That'll get you into the IDP Army Patreon, where you can check out the Ultimate IDP Index, the Discord channel, and all that other good stuff. So, IDP Army, you know what to do. Back to the show. Back to the show, guys. If you want to try out Monkey Knife Fight, the easiest way to actually do that is go to idparmy.com, the site, and just click on the banner. It's at the top of the website. Speaking of the site, go check out the site. I put in a little work on it. You should be able to. It looks a little cleaner on your mobile version. You're going to be able to go check out my redraft rankings that are up on there. Bomber's got another article coming out in the near future. Keep that lookout for that. And yeah, we got cool things going on, guys. Appreciate you, IDP Army. Go sign up for the Patreon as well. Get in the index. The season is quickly approaching. All right, quick. We're mid-July. Okay, that means people, guys are gonna be playing in camp in 2 weeks, less than 3 weeks, 20 days. So, woo, getting pumped. All right, let's jump back into the Bengals. Their running back is a guy I'm not super fond of. That's Joe Mixon. It's not because I don't think he's a good running back. He is a good running back. He's objectively and definitively a good running back. The problem is he almost never pans out the way that people talk about him. He got so much upside, but it never hits the way that you think. He's a great pass catcher. The most targets he's ever had in a season is 55. He played all 16 games in 2019. This is all the same people, all the same coaches. 45 targets. And they're like, oh, we want to play him more. And we're going to do so much more with Joe Mixon. Why are you saying this now? What's different? Tell me, what are you seeing from him that's not what's always been there? So I have trouble buying it. Oh, Giovanni Bernard's gone. Okay, I still don't trust you. This is like when people tried to make Miles Sanders a thing last year. Joe Mixon is kind of in that purgatory of exactly what he is, which is a low-end running back one with upside that is probably never going to be realized. He got paid last year? He's 1-2 years from looking at another contract. He could just be dust in the wind in a year or two. He's 24 right now. He'll be 25 this time next year. Look at the guys that are 25 right now. Todd Gurley's 25, 26. He's gone. if it doesn't happen this year, when's it going to happen? And you've been telling me it's going to happen for so long, and it really hasn't happened. Now he has had I believe, a top 10 season. I think it was just one. I don't have that right in front of me. Let me see. I'm on PFR right now. Let's see if I can pull it up quickly. Fantasy position rank. Okay, he finished as a running back 1 in 2018. Now, I think these are just in standard, but that's not great, even in standard. And like I said, he only had, 45 targets, so I know he didn't have a lot of receptions. So, I don't know. You keep telling me he's going to be something that I've never seen him be. He has really great plays. He makes really awesome flat, splash plays, all this. He does a lot of good stuff. He's a great football player. I don't want him on my fantasy teams because I don't trust him. So, right now, he's going in Underdog as running back 12, which is justified. Again, maybe I'm a little too hyped up, because it feels like people want to be more than that, but they're ranking him there. All right, his rank right now is running back 11. So, and that's on Fantasy Pro. So the consensus how the people feel and the consensus how the people are ranking is kind of symbiotic. It's together right now. So, but people, I don't know, people live and die on that Joe Mixon, top 5 upside. I just don't see it. Sorry. Chris Evans, he's been kind of a splashy name in the dynasty community the last couple of days. Doesn't really do much for me. I mean, he's playing behind Joe Mixon again. Mixon's so great. Why are people trying to make this guy a thing? But anyway, I digress. Right now, his Underdog ADP is running back 73. So people are taking him in Underdog very, very late, kind of as a PPR play. And then Fantasy Pros, he's not even ranked right now. So if you're looking for a backup or maybe the next Giovanni Bernard, maybe it's Chris Evans. There seem to be people that like him. So let's get to the defense, which is really interesting on this team. And let's just start with Sam Hubbard. We know who and what Sam Hubbard is. He's a high-volume tackler. He plays the defensive end position. He plays a lot of snaps. He was a little banged up last year, but he still managed to put up quite a few tackles. I think he put up north of 70 tackles last year, or not 70, I'm sorry, north of 50 tackles last year, and I believe he played an abbreviated season. Yeah, 62. He played 13 games. That's an incredible floor for a defensive line player. That's why Sam Hubbard, to me, is pretty highly ranked. If you go on idparmy.com and look at my DL position, you're going to see Sam Hubbard give him plenty of respect. I give Trey Hendricks plenty of respect, too, because I think this defense will play a lot of snaps. I think both these guys will play a lot of snaps. With this linebacker situation being less solid than the defensive line situation, there's more opportunities for these guys to get in the flow of the game and just make more plays. So that's why Sam Hubbard has had high tackle consistency since coming into the league. He's on a per play basis. He has one of the highest, if not the highest, tackle floor at the DL position. We've never seen him break 10 sacks. He's at 6, 8.5, and then 2 last year. He's not a huge pressure guy. He's more of a numbers guy, but he does some other things on the field. 3 pass deflections this last year, 3 the year before, forced fumble. 10 tackles for loss in 2019, only 5 in 2020. So I like what I see from this Bengals line. Trey Hendrickson, a lot of people said he got overpaid. They didn't like Trey Hendrickson. Spare me. Trey Hendrickson is good, in my opinion. He's going to get plenty of sacks. I know the Carl Lawson hive is very strong because of the pressure hive is very strong. But I think at the end of the season for IDP, when you put these players against each other on a per snap basis, and I say per snap because, who knows who's going to get hurt or miss time or whatever. But on a per snap basis, I'm putting my money on Trey Hendrickson to give me more points in fantasy than Carl Lawson because he just does more. His profile, if you get on the Ultimate IDP Index, his profile shows you that he does more on the field than Carl Lawson does. So that's my little spiel on those two. From this linebacker position, you got a couple of guys that I'm looking at, but one primary, that's Logan Wilson. If you look at him this last year, he was extremely efficient on the snaps that he played. Played under 600 snaps, I believe, just shy of 600. 343 snaps. In those snaps, only 33 tackles, not great, but he had 10 impact plays. Contrast that to a guy whose ADP is a lot higher than his, Isaiah Simmons, 376 snaps for him, 11 impact plays. He did have higher tackle numbers, but Logan Wilson only missed 2 tackles compared to Isaiah Simmons for his 5. And I'm only using Isaiah Simmons just to give you kind of a barometer because you've probably heard of Isaiah Simmons, heard people talk about Isaiah Simmons as a possible breakout candidate for IDP. I'm here to tell you that a cheaper option, an arbitrage play, if you will, is going to be Logan Wilson. I don't see a world where he's the best linebacker on this team. He made splash plays last year, and you can try and take those away from him. But coming in at a college, we thought he was the kind of guy that could make splash plays, and he did it. So a team that should have plenty of defensive snaps available, and a team that was trotting out guys like Josh Bynes and Jermaine Pratt, who's the other projected starter at the moment on the team. If Logan Wilson's going to start, I would bet a lot of money on that, and I think he's going to make a lot of people happy in fantasy this year. So if you play IDP, make sure you are not sleeping on Logan Wilson. He's definitely a breakout candidate. And then the defensive backs. This defensive backfield has produced a lot of guys over the last couple of seasons. Sean Williams and Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates is running on his third season of 100 plus tackles in the NFL since coming in as a rookie. And this dude, the crazy thing about Jesse Bates is he's only 23 years old. Only 23 years old. He's got 3 seasons. People make a big whoop-de-doo about Tremaine Edmonds and how young he is and how good he is on defense and blah, blah, blah. Quietly, Jesse Bates is one of the best players in the league. And, dude's 23. There's guys coming in right now that are 23, 24 even, So he's got a resume as one of the best players in the NFL at a position that people want to knock on, but honestly, safety, in my opinion, on defense is kind of the skeleton key that kind of unlocks everything. And if you have a good safety, you generally speaking have a good defense. It's as an observer of the NFL. I'm not gonna argue with you what a box safety's worth, dollar wise against the cap. That's not my world. Okay, I'm just as an observer of football. Good defenses generally have good safeties, and we saw that last year. This defense did look a little better. Jesse Bates did grade out as the best safety in the NFL. And I say grade out because, everybody loves PFF. So I'm going to use them, I love PFF too. Don't get it twisted. I love me some PFF. Their grades are a great place to learn something. Currently, he's ranked as my defensive back 6. Every year he's just gotten better, and his role is not going to change. Von Bell, the other player on this team, had a lot of tackles, most tackles of his career, currently ranked DB 11, had a lot of assists last year. I think this year we could see him get a little bit more on the solo department. And if that happens, he's going to go up in rankings because he's going to actually get scored a little bit more appropriately. Because considering what he did on the field last year, which let me pull up exactly what he did, but he did put up quite a few tackles, 13 impact plays, not an elite number, but we've seen Budda Baker have defensive back 1 seasons on 13 impact plays, 114 tackles. So he was a busy boy, but quite a few of them career high, 47 of those were assists. So that kind of brought his score down a little bit. So Von Bell, this is a good buy time for Von Bell because there's almost no world if he plays all 16 games again that I see that ratio staying that way because traditionally just the way he's played, it has never been like that. And all of his other stats pretty much across the board stayed true to what his career has been. So except for his tackles, which went up. So if you see that tackle spike continue and he gets a little bit more on the solo and all of his other career stats stay right about where they've been, we could see another top tandem safety situation again for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it would not shock me if that was the case. Also, Mike Hilton, they brought him in to replace William Johnson, I think maybe was the guy's name. He went to Washington. But they brought in Mike Hilton. He got blitzed quite a bit last year by the Steelers, which is kind of why he was worth so much for IDP. But he's a very physical go get him corner. They need a little physicality on this team. They need a tone setter, and if you can get that from the cornerback position, I could see that's a good thing. I think they kind of brought him in for that, play that slot corner role. Get in there, get physical. They're playing against the Steelers, twice a year. They're playing against the Ravens twice a year. We got Mark Andrews. We got guys out there that are going to be it's the NFL, but that's a tough division for a reason. So I think he's going to be a good addition for this team. And in fantasy, I think he's going to continue to be a really good option for IDP this year if you're in a cornerback specific league. So, all right, IDP Army, that is everything I've got for you guys today over the Bengals. Go check out the website, idparmy.com. Got my rankings up over there. Going to be putting more stuff up there soon. Tell a friend about the Ultimate IDP Index. Tell a friend about the Patreon, the Discord. Get your questions in over there. We got a good community over there. We're keeping busy. Bomber, I really appreciate all the stuff he's been doing. He's been helping people out. Sal, man, if you're listening, dude, your questions are so crazy hard. Some of the leagues these guys are in are deep IDP. So if you guys want to, come learn from some dudes, come join the Patreon, come join the Discord. We would love to have you. And I'll be back in a day or two with the next show, which I believe is, let me see here, Bengals. I think the Browns are the next one on the schedule. So sticking in the same division. So let's go, baby. Till next time, guys.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.